South Carolina attorney Alec Murdaugh has just pled guilty ahead of his upcoming trial for financial crimes that he admitted to earlier this year. This follows Murdaugh's defense request that the upcoming fraud and money laundering, it was going to happen the week after the Thanksgiving break. They'd asked for it to be delayed. Now, Murdaugh's upcoming financial trial was going to focus on his conspiracy to steal more than $4 million from deceased former housekeeper Gloria Satterfield in a wrongful death settlement from her family. And the kids, they testified during the murder trial that they never got the money. The vast majority of it stayed with the defendant. So let's go right into that hearing. It's underway.
Mr. Waters.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Afternoon.
We're obviously here in the state grand jury case against Richard Alec Murdaugh. He is present and represented by his counsel, Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin. As Your Honor is aware, we currently have trials scheduled to begin a week from Monday on at least one aspect of the multiple financial crimes that have been investigated and indicted by the state grand jury against Mr. Murdaugh for his abuse of his law license to steal money from clients. It is my understanding that Mr. Murdaugh here today intends to plead guilty pursuant to a plea agreement, which I will detail here in a moment, and that this will ultimately, if this proceeding goes through, will resolve those financial crimes that are alleged against Mr. Murdaugh. Your Honor, pursuant to that plea agreement, I believe you have a copy up at the bench. Is that correct, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Pursuant to that plea agreement, Your Honor, and I'll detail the plea agreement and the various provisions of it as we do this particular.
Is all that correct thus far, Mr. Harpootlian?
Yes, sir, Your Honor, it is.
All right. Go ahead, please.
And Your Honor, I would ask if the defendant could be sworn as we begin this proceeding, and obviously I think because it'd be fairly lengthy, I would request that they be allowed to sit during the state's presentation.
All right, Mr. Murdaugh, if you'll stand.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so be God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have, in fact, signed a plea agreement here with the defense here today. It has been executed by me for the state, as well as Mr. Harpootlian and Mr. Murdaugh himself. And you should have a number of sentencing sheets that are part of this plea. What we've endeavored to do with this plea is to bring some finality to this matter, but to also ensure that there's an appropriate sentence, a lengthy sentence that ensures that Mr. Murdaugh will remain in state prison for a very long time. Your Honor, there are a lot of charges, and so I'm going to first of all go through and detail the charges from the various indictments to which he will be pleading. And again, to put this plea together, we ensured that there was at least one, and sometimes more than one, representative charge for each victim that was victimized by Mr. Murdaugh in the course of his legal practice. The first indictment is 2021 GS 4727, and pursuant to this plea agreement, Mr. Murdaugh will be pleading to count 2, which is money laundering, value $100,000 or more, and that will be a negotiated sentence of 20 years. The second count to which he will be pleading is in 2021 GS 4728. This indictment was venued in Bamberg County and dealt with the crimes committed, first of all, in the diversion of the fees in the case that he shared with Chris Wilson from the firm, as well as ultimately not paying back, ultimately convincing Chris Wilson to cover $192,000 of those fees. Your Honor, he will be pleading in this for that indictment, count 1 for false pretenses, $10,000 or more, for a sentence of 10 years, as well as count 7, which is false pretenses, $10,000 or more, for another 10 years. The third indictment is 2021 GS 4729. This is the crime that is venued in Allendale County. The victim in this case was Dion Martin, and Mr. Murdaugh has agreed to plead guilty to count 1, breach of trust with fraudulent intent, $10,000 or more, for a negotiated sentence of 10 years. The next one is 2021 GS 4730. This is venued here in Beaufort County, and this is the indictment that the state was prepared to try a week from Monday. This is the case involving the Satterfield matter, and he has agreed to plea to count 4, which is 2021 GS 4730, count 4 for 10 years. 2021 GS 4730, count 5 for 20 years, and 2021 GS 4730, count 8 for 20 years. Those latter two were money laundering. Those are 20-year offenses that are at 85% time that must be served. Your Honor, the next indictment to which he will be pleading is 2021 GS 4731. This is where the victim was Manuel Santos Cristiani, and he will be pleading to breach of trust in count 1, and the negotiated sentence is 10 years. The next indictment, 2021 GS 4732, this is venued in Hampton County, and the victim was Randy Drawdy, and in that particular matter, he will be pleading to breach of trust, $2,000 to $10,000, and the negotiated sentence is 5 years. The next indictment is 2021 GS 4733, and this matter involved the estate of Blondell Gary and venued in Hampton County. In that particular case, he will be pleading guilty to count 2 for money laundering, value $100,000 or more. The negotiated sentence will be 20 years. The next indictment is 2021 GS 4734. This is venued in Hampton County, and the victim was Chris Anderson, and he will be pleading to count 2, which is money laundering $100,000 or more with a negotiated sentence of 20 years. The next one is 2021 GS 4735. This is venued in Beaufort County, and the victim is Jordan Jinks. He will be pleading to forgery, 2021 GS 4735, count 5, for a negotiated sentence of 10 years. The next one is 2021 GS 4736. This is venued in Hampton County. The victim is Johnny Bush, and he will be pleading to count 2, which is computer crime, value more than $10,000, for a negotiated sentence of 5 years. The next one is 2021 GS 4737. He will be pleading to count 1 in that one. That is venued in Hampton County, and the victim was Jamian Risher, and he will be pleading to a negotiated sentence of 10 years. The next one is 2021 GS 4738. This is venued in Colleton County, and the victim was the estate of Sandra Taylor. He will be pleading in that matter to 2021 GS 4738, count 2, for money laundering. That's an 85% offense, and he will be pleading to a 7-year sentence on that particular crime that will be consecutive to count 5 of 2021 GS 30. The next one is 2022 GS 4701. This is venued in Hampton County. The victim was Natasha Thomas, and he will be pleading to breach of trust in count 1 to a negotiated sentence of 10 years. The next one is 2022 GS 4702. In this instance, the victim was Hakeem Pinkney, and the heirs of Hakeem Pinkney. That is venued in Hampton County. He will be pleading to count 1, breach of trust, for a negotiated sentence of 10 years. The next one is 2022 GS 4703. This is venued in Allendale County, and the victim was Arthur Badger. He will be pleading to count 1, breach of trust, for a negotiated sentence of 10 years. Additionally, 2022 GS 4710. This is venued in Colleton County. This actually...
Okay, so a total of 22 counts being pled to with, I'm going to have to do the math here, but it looks like it's pushing 200 years. We'll get into this, talk about the details in the Alec Murdaugh plea deal. Good timing, folks. We're hearing something we have never heard before, and that is disgraced South Carolina attorney Alec Murdaugh pleading guilty to something. Welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. We are in the South Carolina courtroom now for this litany of financial crimes to which he has now pled guilty, 200 plus years, at least on paper. Let's head back to court now to hear Judge Clifton Newman addressing the defendant, Alec Murdaugh.
Mr. Murdaugh, you've heard what Mr. Waters has stated. Do you agree with the statements he has made?
Yes, sir.
And do you wish to withdraw your formally entered plea of not guilty and plead guilty to each and every one of these charges?
I do.
You, your lawyer, and the prosecutor have negotiated a sentence in this matter that's been recited by Mr. Waters. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And where there's a negotiated sentence, either I will accept the plea, guilty plea, and give you the exact sentence that you, your lawyer, and the prosecutor have negotiated, or I will not accept your guilty plea. Do you understand that?
I do, yes, sir.
And would you like for me to accept the guilty plea and impose the negotiated sentence?
Yes, sir, I would.
And because these cases, various counts are venued in various counties, Orangeburg County, Hampton County, Colleton County, Bamberg County, Allendale County, I think that in addition to Beaufort, do you wish to waive venue from those counties to have the case heard here in Beaufort?
I do.
Is there any question in your mind as to whether or not you wish to proceed with this guilty plea?
No, sir, there's no question in my mind.
Do you believe you've had enough time to think about it?
Yes, sir, I do.
Are
Had a
you
long
set?
time to think about it.
I can imagine. Do you believe that you've had effective representation by Mr. Harpootlian and Mr. Griffin?
Absolutely.
Now, this plea agreement includes a provision providing for a waiver of appeal and
Tight because of this breaking news, but give me your quick thoughts, Katherine, on this plea deal.
Well, it's very surprising. We were talking during the break as to why he would actually accept a plea deal at this point. One thing that came to my mind is that the Gloria Stratterfield trial will no longer proceed because he just pleaded guilty to that. And that trial was supposed to start on Monday. Maybe there's something in that Gloria Stratterfield trial that Murdaugh does not want to come up.